Right. Yeah. As we were saying, like,
Yeah, I think that, the guys are making the calls and, I'll know more tomorrow morning when I talk to them because I haven't asked them about the calls recently, but I will ask them about, what are they seeing? What are they hearing? And the fact that they're
Mhm.
actually doing it is the most important thing, right? And
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, and you're learning this in class and have learned this, is it's the activity that counts, not the result. You can't, you can't manifest or, motivate, manipulate someone into doing something they don't want to do, call you back, or return your email, click the LinkedIn message return, right? But you can do the reach out and the outreach to it. So,
Yeah. I mean, I think it's been an interesting experience building the muscle, and like we're currently under like the pressure of needing to sell. But then like truly the muscle building is the activity that's happening right now. And so the results aren't going to be as good as somebody like as you who's seasoned. But then like within that line, it's like there's going to be moments where you're like the muscle building activity should lead me a different path, but my need for revenue is leading me on a different path, and
yeah,
it's bifurcating, and then it's trying to balance the two things against one another.
and that's the hardest thing in the beginning,
Yeah.
being financially independent, not needing the money, right?
Yeah.
And being able to say that to yourself. But that ultimately is what has to happen. Um, but I think it is a balance of you working towards it, right? You
Mhm.
you you chase really hard, chase is the wrong word, but you work really hard the deals you think you can win, and then start to let go of the ones that aren't worth, pursuing. And as soon as you start
Yeah.
to get that under your belt, you start to feel like, okay, I've got power, I've got control. I think that the sooner you learn to walk away from things, the better you'll feel. And I
Yeah.
can only tell you that you have to experience yourself. I can't, I know it from mine, I'm at a point where I just don't care, right?
That's a
I
great
mean,
point.
I don't care about helping. It's not that I don't care about helping or making money, but if they can't say yes or no, I can't, you know, I can't be more emotionally invested than they are.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest line to remember, right? Do the behavior because it's cut because it's what you committed to from, yourself into your business, into your family, that you're doing it with commitment, consistency, and conviction, and then go home at night and say, I did what I said I was going to do. Because
Yeah.
if Warren was going to make you money, Austin, we'd all be rich.
Yeah, I think I'd be a trillionaire at this point if it was making me money.
And
Uh,
I like the process of, your top sale because I think part of the battle of prospecting is who am I going to call, right?
yeah.
Now, I have a pretty good Rolodex of people to talk to, and so I can reach into my CRM and say, yeah, I'm talking to that cat in a long time.
Mhm.
But I still have to do some energy around figuring that out. If I have a plan like yours where, you're going to send me 10 names and I have to either email them or call them or text them or LinkedIn them, I'm like, that ain't hard at all. And to do 10 of those, you could be done. I remember the days when I had to do 16, and I'm like, it's going to take me all day to do 16. At 44 minutes, I was done.
Yeah.
And so it's not that hard once you start. And I think the beautiful thing about having them is, these are people that, are in the funnel for a reason. They showed some interest or, uh, yeah, some interest in doing things. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
if they're not interested when we talk to them, they're not interested.
Yeah. I'm really fascinated right now by like the mindset stuff because I think that's like been I have a lot of technique to be working through right now, but the mindset around what I'm doing when I'm making the phone calls. And then like to your point about being able to walk away, like I have no problem being like, this person isn't going to be worth my time, and then just like getting out of the way, disqualify them, saying no thanks. However, Eric was talking to me about, are you being the adult ego that is, neutral and making a decision based on logic that makes a lot of sense, or is that actually you doing like a defensive move and being like, well, if I walk away, they can't reject me? And then having to ask yourself that question because it's not an easy question, I think. I think there are times where it's very much on like the border of, well, are you defending yourself and your ego and not wanting to be rejected, or are you actually just being logical and being like, hey, this person's giving me plenty of signals to walk away from it?
I take a different take on that because that's all true from
Ooh,
what he
yeah, I
was
want to hear
telling
it.
you. My take is that is it about me or is it about them?
Hmm.
Because when I just start to rationalize that this person isn't in the right demographic, isn't my ICP,
Hmm.
or won't take my call, then that's about me. If I
Yeah,
really make it about him, I just pick up the phone and call him.
yeah. But then during the conversation, like, are you
Well, it either
continuing to do
goes
that
somewhere or
process?
it doesn't, right?
Yeah.
Because I think if you do your prospecting call correctly, you're asking the kind of questions to help them decide how you sort them. Because this whole
Hmm.
process is sorting.
Right.
You got a group of people that you call suspects because you suspect they might have interest in working with you, right?
Uh, yeah, I like
Then they
that.
either become prospects because there's an opportunity, or they become rejects because they've rejected the notion of needing your services.
Yeah,
And that's all you're doing is sorting.
that's a good
And
way
so
to
if you
put
think
it.
about not rejecting you, but rejecting the premise of needing top sale in your case or Sandler training in mine, then it's not about me.
Right.
And then I don't have to get upset about it.
Where do you draw the line on objection handling? Like, is it is there a clear distinction, or do you think it's kind of a messy? Because I'm in the spot where it feels very messy, but I think it's also technique based or technique issue. Like for me, like still
Well,
learning.
let's be honest. If we think about it in the middle of a context of a no pressure prospecting call, they answer the phone. I've already ruined their day because
Yeah,
I'm interrupted their day. Now, the
yeah,
fact that they picked up the phone is inconsequential to them.
yeah.
And I'm like, if you don't want to talk to me, don't answer your phone. What am I going to do? But they
Seriously.
answered their phone, right? Now it's on them, but they're inconvenienced, right? And so we have to recognize there's going to be a little bit of just pushback from the beginning.
Hmm.
And if I treat it naturally and I say, and I read the body language, I hear what's going on in the way they communicate with me, that it isn't a good fit. And if I say, hey, this doesn't sound like it's a good fit and something you won't want to talk about, then I'm just being honest and
Yeah,
going negative to get to the truth. And if I get to the truth, I got to the truth. They don't want to talk to me, whether it's because I interrupted them right now or it's truly not something they're interested in. I got the truth, which is all I'm looking for, yes or no.
yeah.
And
One of
so I'll
the, oh, sorry.
handle some of the objections by just being mildly curious. One guy, what did the last guy say to me? Oh, he said to me, one of the last calls I did, said, I'm not interested in what you do.
Hmm.
And I said, curious, why are you not interested? I don't like your approach. I said, okay, now I'm really interested. What did you not like about my approach? You call me every day.
Yeah.
And that's when I told you, let's change the sequencing.
Yeah,
Because it's right, I did.
yeah.
Right. It was like, because there was a call one day and 2 days later, LinkedIn, and 2 days later, voice, and so, yeah, I did come on. And
Mm.
okay, that seems fair. Now, I didn't like it in real time. It seemed judgmental, but when you think about it, it's like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And so talking with you and then talking a little bit with Eric about changing it into what would be the right cadence, calling people every week or reaching out every week. I'm learning as I go. And so I think that's that, at the end of the day, I'm not going to be overcome objections that they want to be in front of the conversation.
Right.
I'm just going to try to deal with them as best I can to get clear about, do you really want to have a conversation, or is this objection your polite way to tell me no? because you don't have to object to me. You can just tell me no.
Yeah.
The guys that you call 12 times and then they're mad at you the 12th time. Like, well, why didn't you just tell me you weren't interested in the first call? I'd be okay. Now that's, picking a fight here and there sometimes, and you don't need to do that either, but
Oh, I've
I'm
had a
looking for
few.
clarity. At the end of the day, Austin, I'm looking for clarity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had somebody respond to me, and I'm obviously reaching out to sales leaders, and somebody responded back and they're like, "You're harassing me." And I was like, "I have called and emailed you once a week. I have not done anything else outside of that. That's, in my opinion, not harassment."
Right.
And
But
for a salesperson to consider that harassment, I thought was interesting. Let's put it that way.
and you think about it, yes. Now, and because what's really happening is this is how he's feeling. We're not honoring that feeling, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because it's true, whether you believe it or not or agree with it, it's still how the person felt. And so I understand that too. This guy didn't thought I was harassing him by calling him every other day, and I was like, okay, fine.
Yeah,
But then
yeah.
I just move on, right? Because if you're going to be thin-skinned, then you're probably not going to be the guy I want to work with anyway. So you move on. So
One of the things that I've been dealing with on my journey of this is I'm cool making the call. I wasn't feeling super comfortable because at a point I felt like I was invading private space. But then as I kind of like continued to rationalize and think through it, it was like I'm actually like entering their professional space, not their
yeah,
private space.
yeah,
I'm coming in and saying, look, somebody in this role, you should have an expectation of people wanting to have conversations with you outside of your organization. You have every right in the world to say no, thank you, and have that person respect that. But I think, and I'd be curious what your take is, but I've been kind of thinking it's like we don't have the right to be upset that somebody thought about having a conversation with you and said, "Hey, what's up? Would you want to have a conversation?" And then you can just say no. But then to be
yeah.
upset by the idea of somebody saying, "Hey, do you want to have a conversation?" is unfair.
It's unfair, but it happens, and you can't really deal with it
Yeah.
because you don't know. You don't have a list of these are going to be the unfair calls and the fair calls. I think what I recognize is that regardless of what they think, I have a good product or service,
Yeah.
and I've helped people, and I want to see if this person has a need where I can help.
Hmm.
And he does or doesn't, she does, she doesn't, and we move on.
Yeah.
Now, if he wants to be irritated at that, well, when he hangs up the phone, he can continue to be irritated. Nothing I'm gonna do about it because I can't. I'm just gonna be, and I gotta remember, and I think this is the other thing. If I handle it nurturingly, gracefully, then it's all on him anyway.
Hmm.
Because unless I called him some kind of so and so on the call, then yeah, now he's got a reason to be mad. But if I didn't do anything other than dial his phone number and he picked it up, I had a guy call me one time. One time I did this to him. You'll like this story. And he says, "Do you know what time of the year it is?" Yeah, yeah, because he was an accountant. And I said, "It's tax season."
Yeah.
And then why would you call me? Because I'm curious about whether you need any help with your
Yeah.
process. Doesn't mean we're going to do anything today, but it's just that people are going to do what they do, and I don't control their reaction to things. And if I'm nice and polite and nurturing and genuinely curious about whether there's a need, not that that means we're going to do anything, but just whether we want to have a conversation to continue talking,
Hmm.
then okay, say yes, say no, be grumpy when you say no. Okay, fine,
Yeah.
move on. Right. We can't be emotionally attached. We can't take this stuff personally. This is no place to get your emotional needs met, right? Um, yeah, just gotta, recognize that it was a no, breathe. What I like to do is uh, grieve the process for however long I need to when I feel like I got my feathers rattled, my
Yeah.
feathers ruffled a little bit. I grieve for however long I need to grieve, then I move on.
So in school, I had a leadership class where they're just trying to, they weren't saying we're going to make you great leaders, but they're like, here are the fundamentals of what you need to understand to become a leader. And if you want to have success and, in business, and a really important part of this is emotional intelligence. And so I read all of these articles, we practiced them in a sanitary environment. It was very easy. And then I applied them in internal roles. And it was beginner mode. And through conversations with you and through Eric and everyone I've been talking to about this and learning from, it's like sales, the process of being like a true seller and becoming really good at it is like you're going to become an expert at emotional intelligence or you're not going to be able to do it. And it's been really cool to just kind of like get reframed in that because I was lost on that. I was like, what is this process? What is happening? Why do I not feel in control of how what's going on? And then I got reframed into
Yeah,
this is an emotional intelligence exercise every single time you have like a cold call. And it was like,
this
oh, this is
is,
making it
yeah.
so much more accessible
And I
for me.
know we're running up against it, but two things I'd say. Eric taught me that emotional intelligence is making someone feel better about themselves after
Mm.
talking with me. That's a
Yeah.
pretty good definition, right? And I think the other thing, if you recognize what David Sandler's first book was about, you can't teach a kid to ride a bike in a seminar. You and
Mhm.
I can't get better at cold calling and prospecting unless we do it.
Right.
So whether we screw it up or piss somebody off or not, if we don't do it well, you still have to do it to get better. And
Yeah.
then, a couple more months of doing it, you'll be better than you were today. So,
6 months ago, I was a wreck. It was terrible. I did such a bad job. And now I feel okay.
yeah.
And just like I know that I could be better, but my comfort, like my comfortability and my willingness to go out there and make a fool of myself, try again, ask myself what happened, like what went wrong.
And the only one that knows you're a fool is you anyway, so it's all good.
Oh no, a lot of people know I'm a fool.
Well, not anybody to any consequence that on
Yeah.
a phone call they don't know. All right, so good.
I have to always remind myself in about an hour, they're gonna totally forget I ever
Oh
called them.
yeah, they forgot you the moment you hung up. So,
Yeah, yeah, they don't
cool,
care at all.
cool.
All right. Well, I do have to run. I'm pulling a bad salesperson move and running in super late or 2 minutes late and
I was gonna
super
say you're
hot
two
to do
minutes
another
late. You can
combo.
blame it on me. So,
Yeah. I'm always happy to do that. But Ken,
all
I
right,
appreciate it. I also appreciate you've totally broken the format, and I think this is even a better way to approach it. So
be
thank you.
well. Thank you for the time.
Yeah, man.
See you. Bye.
Yeah.